time it is. Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, just wanna get in my groove, but you can't get in my crew. Me, XL, and Huber, way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah, I got the juice. Yeah, I got the juice. Big game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing.
Tell you good night, 'cause I'll find a better What is going on? Welcome back into the Locked In Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 256. Back again after a hiatus. See who can join in tonight. Glad to be back. A lot of great things that I'm enjoying putting together for this podcast. I can tell you that. We got some good collabs coming up for the end of June into July. Some new guests, never been to the panel before. I'm really excited for that. Check out the calendar if you guys haven't. Instagram, Facebook. You guys can actually see our detail below here. Locked In Podcast on all platforms except for Instagram. Instagram is _locked_in_podcast. Check out all of our platforms. We got the calendar posted and pinned. Excited for you guys to be able to kind of see what's going on here. We have someone who is a film producer, a 2-time Emmy Award winner coming in the beginning of July. We also have a new guy who is a long time coming to come on the podcast here, talking about physical fitness. A lot of great stuff there. I'm excited. I'm always excited to have new faces to the podcast. And I'm also excited about what we're doing on TikTok right now, what we're doing on YouTube Shorts, on YouTube, getting the short content out, short form, and just trying to ultimately grow this podcast. Blessed to have a team behind me too. A couple of the guys that you guys see on here regularly helping out, which is awesome. We're in a new era. We're trying to grow. We're trying to streamline. And running a podcast at 250 plus episodes, you tend to run out of content. So you got to keep sharp. The good thing is a lot of my lead generation, also helps through people I know, having the team behind me. Also being able to utilize AI. Guys, I'm going to do an episode on AI. I'm going to tell you the cons and the pros of it. I think that's like a really, really beneficial episode. So we'll have that after the calendar series, but there's a lot of pros that go into AI, but there's also some cons too. And we'll talk about that as well. Personally, I utilize it for business and stuff like that, but not everybody does. And it really can have some cons if it's not something you utilize. And I do believe everybody's going to need to eventually adapt to it in order to stay competitive. So what we're talking about tonight, guys, I'm going to have information from 3 men that I spoke to earlier. Let me silence all my notifications here. Put my phone on. Give me 1 second. There we go. I need to put this on a timer so we're not having this happen. So there we go. We go D&D. So, guys, episode 256. What are we talking about here? So the topic that I have for you guys today is business, career, time stewardship. Now, you might be asking, what do I mean? What do I mean by time stewardship? What do I mean by business and career time stewardship? What am I talking about? So this is what I want to break it down. Time stewardship means when you're a good steward of your time, it means you're managing your time very effectively. So what we're going to talk about here tonight is business, career, time stewardship, how to scale your business if you have a business, how to elevate your career, but the ability to do that without sacrificing the home. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you're married, say as a man, without sacrificing too much time with your wife. If you have kids, with your children. This can also go for women too. I was thinking about making this just, a men's episode, but I try to also be inclusive to women on this podcast too. I do know a lot of the topics cater to men on this podcast because it was founded as a personal growth channel for men. But as I kind of expand, I'm trying to keep it niche focused, but also be relatively inclusive of everyone. Because I think this is a topic that can also go for women too. In this day and age, women are also in the workforce. So how do we elevate our career as a woman, right? Maybe you're running a business too. Maybe you are trying to elevate in your career and you have a big time, powerful career or professional career where you're elevating, you're growing. So how do you do that, say, like as a wife or a mother too? How do we elevate? How do we grow without feeling guilty? Because God does put us here for a purpose. We're going to get into some scripture tonight too that surrounds this. How do we grow? But also, how do we do that without feeling guilty? Because I'm also going to talk to you guys, and you guys have heard me say this on the podcast many times. there's no such thing as a perfect work-life balance. If you're trying to build something big, it's very difficult. You just need to be able to manage your time, schedule. We're going to talk about that because I have information from 3 gentlemen. 2 are good friends. 1 I met just last year through my church, through a men's group. Another, I've known him since college, Temple years. We've known each other since freshman year at Temple. Let's say 2014. I think I met Bryce. He's been on this podcast a couple of times. And then I have a mentor too. I actually met him when I was working at Lowe's in 2018. We were just talking earlier today, so he has some good advice too. So we're going to drop some knowledge tonight. We're going to give you guys their off-screen advice. Was able to text back and forth with Josh. Bryce, we hopped on a phone call earlier, some text exchange with James, and was able to formulate this and put this together tonight for you guys. So I don't know how many people are going to tune in, but what I will say is the ones who are meant to hear this, I firmly believe they will. If you're working, and I like to talk to people who are in this position. So for me, I'm not currently married, right? Plan to be. I'm not married yet. I don't have any biological kids of my own yet. But I do know what it is like being in a dynamic with someone where children are not biologically mine. Have an interesting episode coming up on that in a few weeks. So stay tuned about essentially being a step-parent. So I can understand a little bit. I don't have biological children of my own yet. I plan to. But I always want to talk to people who have been in these positions. I have my thought process of how I was in that position, what I would do. But I also like to talk to people who have actually experienced it too, because they are going to be able to give you from firsthand experience their information. So I'm going to talk to you guys about that tonight. We're going to dive into that. Now, it's difficult, right? There's no such thing as a perfect balance. But we're going to tell you how to get to the point where you can at least be able to navigate without giving up too much in one area. But it's really important. So I'm going to go to my notes that I have from the guys. So first of all, I want to actually go into and introduce to you guys before we actually jump into the topic, because I want to be better with this. So, guys, I just want to give you guys some perspective. We're almost halfway through the year. It's crazy. Most people at this point have probably started with some type of goals in January. And maybe some of them you stick to, but maybe some of them you default it back into old habits. What I will say is, in these types of scenarios, you have to hold yourself accountable, but give yourself grace too. Beating yourself up too much is not going to be any type of effectiveness. I think a lot of times we shame ourselves, right? Because I have goals this year, and I haven't spoken them out loud. I don't like to do that. But what I will say is there's some of them that I'm absolutely on track for, but there's others that I'm not. Ran into roadblocks, obstacles, or just didn't stay disciplined enough. I have to give myself grace and move forward, stay accountable, learn from, okay, where did I not execute here, and move forward. But we're halfway through the year, guys. How I want to tie this in is we're talking about capacity management today versus time management. So it's about building a business, securing capital, passing your professional tests, and establishing a legacy, household by design, not by default. So just want to give you guys a shout out to the community here. Shout out to everybody who has supported. I always say, whether you're listening for the first time right now, whether you've come here from YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, and you've come to this channel, I want to welcome you in. If you're willing to take a journey and step into personal growth and personal development, you're in the right place. We're a podcast based out of the Northeast section of the U.S., tri-state area, Christian-based podcast. I originally started this podcast with a co-host. Now I'm kind of with a team. The co-host that I initially started this with, we're still friends. We just parted ways. So I'm in a different spot now than where I was when I started this 5.5 years ago. But this was a lot of sport. We didn't have a ton of direction when we first started this podcast. It wasn't super niche focused. Now it is more niche focused. We talk sports here and there, but it's more so personal growth these days we like to talk about. So if you enjoy that type of content, we go live typically every week, unless like last week we had a little hiatus. I mean, we had gone live Saturday the week prior, so it was a short turnaround, and I didn't communicate with you guys on that one. I actually want to apologize for that because it's completely unacceptable. I did not communicate. I was putting out content for this, but I'm usually communicative with you guys when we're taking a hiatus for the week, and I did not communicate. I had people that reached out to me and asked me, and I do apologize. That was not okay on my side. So I apologize for that. I will be better. But yeah, it's you guys are gonna have like a little mini off-screen masterclass by these guys here today. Bryce, great man. James, great man. Josh, great man. These are guys that I can personally vouch for. They're all God-centered in their life, and they're just genuinely good, solid, not only financial providers for their family who are growing in their careers or one of them is building his business, but they're good fathers and they're good husbands as well. All three of them are married and have children. And it wasn't and they can tell you they have struggles where it wasn't always perfect and it was difficult, and they had to navigate that, and they had to communicate with their wife and sit down with their kids, and it's just it's a large toll when you have a lot of responsibility on your plate. But they also tell me that it's the most rewarding as well. So two of the heavy hitters I have coming on that I'm going to be taking notes from tonight are Bryce. Like I said, known Bryce roughly 11 years now. Known him since Temple, to maybe 12 years, to 2014. We've known Bryce, so almost 12 years. Coming up in the fall. And I've known, like I said, great man. Blessed to see the man he's developed into. James, known him roughly 8 years. Blessing in disguise that I met him. Feel like I've known him a lot longer. Sorry, guys. We're going to dive right into this. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell in the corner. Turn those notifications on. We release content typically every week related to personal growth. You don't want to miss it. Still hit that like button, too. It really helps us out. With the algorithm pushes this content out to people who need to see it. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm assuming you're already part of that community. So I just want to give you a thumbs up, and I thank you for that. Still, hit that like button. Really, really helps us out and pushes this content out to people that need to see it. And the more likes we get, I do start to see that people have come across it more. So it is. TikTok, same way. As people like it, people see it more. People who aren't subscribed to my channel. So I love it. Comment below, guys. You already know the deal if you're a regular watcher, if you're new. If you comment on YouTube, I can throw your comment right up on the screen and we can engage directly. If you comment on Facebook and you're part of the Facebook group and you don't know how that goes, so I can't put your comments on the screen due to meta privacy concerns, but I can read them out loud. All right, guys, let's take a journey. Let's dive into this. All right. So the high capacity man, I want to dive right in with the modern work-life balance, the 50-50, before I get into the notes of the guys. And then I'll dive into the notes here. Work-life balance implies there's a perfect 50-50 split. Cut it down the middle. Work, family life, friends, whatever you got going on in your life. 50-50 split. There's just no such thing as perfection when it comes to these things, especially when you start to have kids and you grow. It's just no such thing as it. It's impossible when you're building a career. Say you're studying like for a professional exam to get some type of licensure in your life for your career, or you're launching a platform, you're building some type of business. But then at the same time, say you got a wife and you got children at home, or say you're a woman and you got a husband and kids at home, but you're trying to launch your business, or you're working in a growing profession where you continue to level up, right? Same thing as a woman. It's very difficult to balance your motherhood duties your wifely duties, or even if you're just in a relationship, right? You're just a girlfriend, you're dating somebody, man or a woman. And it's difficult to make everybody happy all the time. There's going to be disappointments, whether it's disappointments in your work, disappointments at home. There's going to be disappointments. And that's why I think effective communication and scheduling is so important. We're going to get into that because Bryce broke that down perfectly for me as a man who's growing in his career, building something on the side, just had a second kid, just had a son, and he has a daughter already, and then has a wife. It's a lot. It's a lot on the plate. And then trying to find time to spend with God regularly, trying to take care of your health and your fitness, trying to get through the daily, the day every single day by having to do the adulting things you have to do. If you don't have schedule and structure, it becomes very difficult. So Bryce will talk about that in a little bit, but whether you're building a career, you're studying for, like I said, to launch a platform, it's very difficult. So there's a certain thing I like to talk about. It's called, there's a concept called rhythmic seasons. And this isn't something I really found. I kind of just put a word to it. Rhythmic seasons. So what I mean by this concept is you don't really need like a perfect daily balance, but you need seasonal alignment. So communicating in certain seasons and extreme communication with your circle. So what do I mean by this? Okay. If you are, say I work in finance, and say I'm studying for a big financial planning exam, say the exam to become a certified financial planner or CPA or a CFA or something like that. Say I'm studying for my real estate license, whatever it is. And you're going to need to dedicate a lot of hours to that outside of your job, right? But you're trying to grow. You're trying to level up in your life, whatever it is. You need to communicate with your inner circle. By your inner circle, I mean, if you're married, man or woman, with your husband or your wife, with your kids, kids might not understand as much, but definitely communicate with your partner for the level of the duties. Like you have to I would just have an open and honest conversation. I think your partner is going to be the most important one to communicate with, because how do we structure the duties around the house, right? Things are going to might have to shift for a season as we try to grow. The conversations with your family, your friends, maybe if you're active in your church community. Maybe if you're serving every week, maybe you won't be able to serve every week. Maybe you have to cut that down to 2 times a week, or not 2 times a week, 2 times a month. Maybe it's 1 time a month. Maybe if you're a volunteer, you have to cut that back a little bit. Obligations that you have to other people, you want to be communicative. So it's not about daily balance, because daily balance doesn't have to be for the next 40 years of your life, 50 years of your life. It can be rhythmic seasons. So there are going to be seasons of your life where you are more busy, you are busier than others. That's for sure. For example, if you're launching a business from the ground up, you are going to be highly busy and highly focused when you are in the beginning stages of launching your business and then trying to grow it. There's going to be a few seasons where that's going to be a thing. If you're going to launch and grow your business, it's more than likely going to be difficult at the beginning. That's why good communication and being able to stay on the same page with your partner is highly important there. And maybe vice versa. Maybe your partner has something they're working on. Okay, in this season, it's about there's no such thing as a perfect balance, but having solid communication and getting on the same page is really, really important when it comes to this. So before my mic went live today, earlier, like I said, I was in conversation with James. James, you may have seen on this podcast. So James, give you a little background on him. He worked for the NFL for about 10 years, roughly, with NFL Films. He worked with the Philadelphia Eagles organization and worked with a lot of players across the league. James built a solid network for himself. He built his own business, which is James. So now it's St. James Luxe, Luxe, SAINTE, James Luxe, Luxe. He built his company now. It's a lot of it is a gentleman's lifestyle brand. So there's a lot of different things that go into that. Right now, he's working a lot with clients on high-end timepieces. He's partnered with a business out in King of Prussia. And he was partnered with Hamilton Jewelers at one point out in New Jersey. He's big on timepieces right now. That's what he's ultimately working on. But he has a background in real estate. He actually used to do real estate deals with a famous NFL professional. I won't, just out of I'm not sure the confidentiality on that, so I won't release the name of the player he was doing business with, but he has real estate experience too, as an investor, as an agent as well. He's also worked as a menswear stylist. He's worked with Louis Vuitton. He has his own brand that he has built for himself, and now he's building a media side to it too. James has built kind of an all-encompassing umbrella company and what he's done. But so James has a strong business acumen, and we've been able to talk about lifestyle, business, a lot of different things, and he's helped guide me as well. Not just that, fatherhood, being a husband. We've talked about a lot of different things, and I've learned a lot from him. So before this mic went live today, I was out here. James is in about his mid-40s, and we were talking about running successful operations while trying to raise a family. His daughter just turned 14, and he told me time management is a myth for a builder. So you can't control every hour when you're scaling. You learn to have capacity management. He said that changed my entire paradigm. If you don't expand your internal capacity to handle pressure, a bigger paycheck will just break you. So it all starts at the internal force. It starts internally. You can't control every hour when you're scaling. You have to learn that capacity management is so important. We all have capacity for only so much. And I was actually talking to Bryce about this earlier today too on the phone, about how we hold capacity for so much. We're going to talk about organization and scheduling as well. But here, we talked about this with James. I actually want to bring some scripture into this too and give you guys kind of a core principle that kind of goes along with this. So Genesis 2:15, another thing me and Bryce were talking about earlier. We're talking about some passages in the first chapter of Genesis. But Genesis 2:15 says, God put man in the garden to cultivate and protect. Cultivation takes work. Protection takes boundaries. If you cultivate a business but fail to protect your peace, you aren't fulfilling the mandate that is speaking right out of the Bible. In Genesis chapter 2, he put men in the garden to cultivate and protect. Remember that. Cultivate and protect. Cultivation, it definitely takes work. All right. So now I want to dive into, we have talked about wealth stewardship here, finances, delayed gratification. We're actually going to jump right into the financial side of this right now, and then we'll kind of pivot back. So I actually was able to talk to Bryce earlier, right? So this is what we had talked about. I want to pivot to what I had talked to about Bryce. So talk to Bryce about. So my brother Bryce, like I said, I've known him since college. He's currently working as working towards being a financial planner. He's working in insurance. And I respect Bryce because he has never been ashamed that while working these positions to level up in terms of his business, in terms of like the actual career side of it, he's never been ashamed to add odd jobs in, like working overnight at a retail store in order to make ends meet for his family. I really respect Bryce because he does provide for his family. He has a mission. He has goals that he's trying to accomplish. But, financially, sometimes we all fall in certain categories. Bryce, I respect because he's the guy that's not going to be afraid to get his hands dirty. And he's not afraid to roll up his sleeves and grind for his family. But he also one of the biggest things I'm so proud of him with is how Bryce has brought his family back towards God. Whether it's prayer in the house, taking time as a family to read scripture, pray before they go to sleep, pray as they wake. He's read the Bible, I think, twice back to back, and now he's reading the Quran as well. So, Bryce is really heavy in his faith, and he really has gotten there in the last few years, as I have in myself. I'm not quite on that level yet. I haven't read the Bible from front to back multiple times, and I definitely have not dove into the Quran, but I respect that, that me and him can always have a conversation about God or about scripture when we talk, but we can also talk business. We can talk life. We can talk family dynamics. Me and Bryce, we can go on a tangent, when we talk. So, like I said, Bryce is a father himself. He's working towards being a financial planner. He's working in his insurance business. And, what we had talked about was how important it is to organize and schedule. Because I asked him, I'm like, look, you have so many different things going on. How do you manage it all? How do you manage to show up for your family every single day and also be able to provide something big and take steps towards that every single day of what you're trying to build? And what he had told me was everything goes through his calendar. He's got multiple calendars. He has a calendar for family. He has a calendar for business and work. And everything is scheduled. So when he hits that time limit for the day, he unplugs. Phone goes on D&D at a specific hour every single night. Now he's getting to a point where like a certain day of the weekend he's using as the Sabbath to turn off phones and just spend time with the family. But when it's work time and business time too, unless it's an emergency, he's not just going to drop everything he does for his kids or his family because he has to provide. And I think that's a thing for a lot of parents. A lot of parents actually cannot do that. But he also is in a 2-parent household too. So let me reach that back too. I know it is a lot more difficult if you're in a 1-parent household. So I really empathize with that. And I've literally seen the dynamics, and I know how I can tell you that I understand how hard it is because I've literally seen it. But he's in a 2-parent household with his wife. But in this dynamic, he, when she has the kids and he's the one who's working, he will not be bothered by like the minimal things, like just to get attention, right? If there's emergencies, of course, he's going to drop what he's doing and go to his family. But he keeps everything very organized and scheduled as much as he possibly can. Structure is so important. Structuring time to spend with God every single morning before the day begins. Finding time to get that fitness in, whatever it is. Even if it's a half hour, whatever it is. Finding time to make healthy choices on what you consume and eat. Finding time to... Like, he's like, I'll work certain hours a day, and then when it becomes a certain time, like after work in the evening, it's just family time. I'm putting my phone down. I'm not sitting here scheduling meetings. It's just, hey, we're done. Like, this is my time with my family. But every season might be different. Say you're studying for a certain licensure, right? Maybe after you finish work, you spend time with your family for a little bit. Then you dedicate an hour and a half, or maybe a couple of hours if you can, to study for licensure and then come back to the family. Like, it's, every season is different. And that's why I said it's rhythmic seasons, rhythmic. I think that's the word I had, right? What did I put together here? I put together the word, where did I put it? I'm losing my own word here, guys. Rhythmic seasons. Yes. That is what I had there. But structure is so important. Calendars, they become scheduling, organization. They become your best friend in these types of scenarios. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am a planner, but I've gotten to a point where I used to always be writing things down and put them on my calendar. I've gotten back to it, but there was a period where I dipped off from that. And I was just trying to put everything up here internally. And I'll tell you what, it's unless you have some type of amazing photographic memory, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be really difficult. I just was not as organized. I need reminders myself. Sometimes I need to put things on my calendar. So whatever calendar you have, he has a work calendar. He's got a family calendar. He has some other calendar too. Make sure to put things on your calendar. Make sure to write things down. Make sure to schedule. And make sure to stick to your boundaries too. So when you're done working on whatever you're working on for the day, stick to that boundary and that time limit. Pivot out of that. So like the same thing, because I find it hard to do that sometimes. So I know that's something I had to work on and have to work on. I'm still working on. That's sticking to strict boundaries on the timelines. Even if I had an obstacle that day. Look, if it's not something that's mandatory to get done today, right? It's not absolutely if it's mandatory, I'll get it done. If it's not absolutely mandatory, then hey, we're going to stick to the deadline. We're going to stick to the timeline, and we'll pick back up tomorrow. But we're going to go right to, spending time with our family afterwards or whatever. And it's like, and be present. Be present. Family, friends, whoever you're spending time with, or whoever you're spending your time. Keep everything as structured as you possibly can. Now, there's going to be slip-ups. Like I said, nobody's perfect. And I think that a lot of times you're probably going to find it difficult to stick to the timelines. It's a muscle. It takes time. Give yourself grace if you slip. But what I will also tell you is you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So make sure to schedule, make sure to plan, make sure to keep organized. When you're cluttered up here and you're cluttered everywhere, you're going to be cluttered everywhere else. So you want to try to keep up here as organized as you possibly can. Putting things into putting practical scheduling things out, like practical organization, putting things in the calendar, it really helps. We also talked about true capital stewardship under God means aligning your cash flow with your long-term legacy vision, not your short-term comfort. Let that one sit with you. I have talked to other people who are successful as well. I have a couple friends who are doing very well for themselves. We're definitely aligned spiritually as well. And we've all been here where we enjoy short-term comforts, but there's no shortcut to that. If you cannot sacrifice, froze there for a second. If you cannot sacrifice for your long-term vision, and you cannot sacrifice for your long-term vision, you are constantly consumed by the temptations of the world every single day, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to your long-term vision if you cannot sacrifice towards it. That's why I say with the Lord, with praying, pray for strength, pray for perseverance. Talk to people who have also struggled with this and who have overcome it. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is to slowly build that muscle to halt succumbing to the temptation. Because I think we've all been there at some point. I know I have. I will always be honest here. I know I have. I have absolutely succumbed to temptation. We all have. And if you say you haven't, you're lying. Because we are all sinful. We are all sinful. But God is so good. And the strength that you can get by not just praying to him, but yielding to him, yielding to the Holy Spirit. Listen to what I had said here, right, when we had this conversation. True capital stewardship under God means aligning your cash flow with your long-term legacy vision. You have to align it. If you feel that's your call, you have to align it. You have to look down and think that he's looking down on you. Right? You have to align your cash flow. This is for anything though. I'm just talking finances here, but I'm talking financial stewardship, but you have to align your cash flow to his vision, not your short-term comfort, not what you want, not always leaning on your understanding. It takes true sacrifice. Like I said, it's never going to be perfect, but as you start to resist the temptation, right? Let it sit with you. We've talked so many episodes on this too. There's so many strategies. If you're someone who shops a lot, leave something in your cart for a couple of days. Don't buy something online right away, and then see if you still have the urge to buy it afterwards. If not, it's probably something that wasn't really important to you, and it was an impulsive decision. That's one of the many ways. I know we've had plenty of episodes through this podcast on it, but I don't want to get too off track. I want to talk actually about the parable. I want to put another core principle in here, another biblical one. So the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. God does not reward the servant who stayed stagnant or spent it all. Basically, this is what it talks about. He rewards the one who managed the asset with an owner's mindset and multiplied it. This is basically what we're talking about there. I also want to talk here. Leading the home. So we want to bring this back home, right? So we want to shift the focus here. So this is why I said we talked finances, we talked a little bit there, but I want to pivot back here real quick. So I want to actually to kind of bring this all home. And there's never going to be a perfect balance. Communication goes a long way. Scheduling and organization goes a long way. Putting God at the center goes a long way. And I know you guys have probably heard me say this, putting God at the center. So you might ask, Steve, what does that mean? What do you mean put God at the center? When I say put God at the center, I mean yield to him daily. What do I mean when I say yield to him daily? Prayer every single day. Scripture every single day. Listening to him. Meditating on his word. The more you do, right? And then you actually not just read scripture, not just pray, but actually follow the principles of the Bible. As you do that, you're keeping him at the center. That is a muscle too. It's like with any relationship that requires tender loving care. Some good TLC. You have to spend time with him every single day. You know? Because I've been there where I've spent time with God sporadically, once or twice a week, maybe once or twice a month. Shoot, I've had seasons where once or twice a year, or not at all. It's every single day. There's so much temptation out here to throw us off track of our purpose, of what we're being called towards in this life. There's so much that the enemy wants to kind of corrupt us, of how the enemy wants to corrupt us. There's so many forms and ways that he does it too. As we build a spiritual fortress, that's why I think that there's just something so powerful about starting your day with the word. Now, everybody prays and dives into the word at different times. It could be before you go to sleep at night, whatever it is. It could be the middle of the day. I just think there's something so powerful about the morning because you're starting the day off with his word, but you're also building a biblical fortress around yourself, right? You're diving into the word, so you're not conformed to the patterns of this world. And one of my favorite verses is in Romans, and it talks about that. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your minds. Because there's just so much temptation out here. So I want to kind of bring both of these guys. I want to bring both their points home here. I want to weave the strategy. So I want to bring up James with the zero perseverance he had told me. So James, like I said, he had told me when he parks his car and walks through his front door, his phone, while he's going to spend time with his family, right, before they go to sleep. Sometimes he stays up at night and does things. But when he has time with his family, he parks his car when he comes home. Phone goes in his bag, stays on the counter, stays in his bag, completely deactivates that business mindset into a familial role, right? And he has such a great relationship with his daughter. I really say, it's an amazing thing to see. He has a great relationship with his wife, but also his daughter. She's like his best friend. And they have that bond. But it's because he's able to kind of shift. He's able to stick to his timelines, stick to the times, and show up for the family. And I will always say this. Your career and your purpose is so important, but your family is a part of that. So I always say God is the top, then your family, and then everything else kind of flows. Your mission, your purpose, every single thing in this world. But your family is going to be right up there, right? You have to keep, and it's just that you look at the biblical hierarchy. It comes God, man, woman, and then the children. The hierarchy is right there in front of us. It is right there. But he just says him and Bryce both say how important it is that time with the family. But if we're not rooted in our faith, our priorities are going to be out of whack. So if we're not deeply rooted in our faith, then the foundation is faulty. The foundation is corrupted. So we have to be rooted in our faith first and foremost. Bryce's scheduling part too, right? I talked about James. James has such a good mindset when it comes to the unplug. Bryce as well. The organization, the structure that he has with his calendars. He's so organized when it comes to that. And I'll say I know that he's highly organized when it comes to that because it's like he says, he has all his his things to set his phone on D&D at certain times. He has his calendar all set up. I didn't even have my phone set on D&D for this episode. That's something I have to be better with, to be honest with you. So that's something I when I have this podcast. This is something I have to do as soon as I get off of here. set my, like, whenever it's the podcast, sometimes it fluctuates, 7:30 o'clock, whatever it is. And we've had some Saturday episodes. Whatever day of the week or time it is, I have to schedule D&D during the podcast. My phone's on D&D right now. So Bryce had reminded me too, when it comes to the, when you run your cash flow, your capital accounts, with the cold discipline of someone who say who's trying to be a financial planner, right, or working in insurance, but you have to lead your family's heart with the gentleness of a shepherd, and I think that's important too. You need to, like, you cannot flip those two. If you act like a dictator at home and a passive bystander with your money, you're failing on both fronts. So you can't act like that. You can't flip them. You can't flip them. You have to lead your family's heart, but you don't want to be a passive bystander when it comes to anything. You want to be present. I think one of the best things Bryce told me too is he doesn't look too far into the past and he doesn't look too far into the future. It's good to plan things. It's good to have a vision. It's good to have a long-term vision, but you also have to stay present as well. I think planning for the future is a really important thing, but it is also highly important to stay present with your family, stay present in your purpose, stay present with God each day. I think I'm probably not telling you anything new with that, but so let me give you guys some practical steps as we wrap up here tonight, because we don't have any live guests. So I want to wrap this up. Actually, hold on a second. Before I actually end out that, I talked about Bryce and James, but I did not talk about what Josh had said. So let me look here. Josh talks about balance. So for the most part, you have to priorities. You want your faith at the top, your family next, your work lastly, because you want to provide for your family, but you want to make sure that your family is right behind your faith. Faith has to be first. So the foundation, it's susceptible. It's a flawed foundation if you don't have God at the center. I firmly believe that. Everybody's different. Some people don't believe, and that's okay. I'm not here to force anybody to believe anything. It's just my belief, And me and Josh are equal there. He said there has to be a noticeable tilt, and you'll see that without faith, your family, your sacrifice, your business, your family, everything collapses. And he actually brought to a good point. I've actually talked about this book on this podcast, "The Man, the Moment Demands" by Jason Wilson. Talks about the comprehensive man. There's a great point about this in that book. That's for like the men's role, but like I said, men and women, we can both talk here. But this is that's from the man side of it. I actually want to something funny came up. My brother Heath gave me some great notes here tonight. He gave it after the podcast started. So you know what? I'm gonna read these, even though he wasn't included in the thing. I had asked, I hadn't heard back. But Heath, you're my brother. I'm gonna read this. He's a father as well. It's someone who's elevating. He's growing in his career right now. So he put some great stuff out here. I'm gonna read exactly word for word what he said. He said, as a father of two young boys in a single income family, it's important to remember what your goal is. Building a healthy family first. And first and foremost, means a father is in their child's life as often as possible. Where mothers are the primary nurturer, a father's role is the primary disciplinarian, rough play, emotion regulator, vital in a young child's development. So although I must make enough income to keep up the family's financial needs, providing for my family, being able and available for my wife and my boys is equally and honestly more important. As getting ahead is so hard, I find myself pushing harder and at work, adding value so I can add more financial stability for my family at home, prioritizing all of my time while I'm at work or at home, being a role model inside the home, how to eat, how to talk, when to be serious, when to play, when to laugh at ourselves, how to take care of my body. Children are sponges. They will be exactly what they see. So being conscious with how I talk, what I do is so important. Having children made me get serious with my life. I prioritized better, focused better, and became much more task-oriented. Heath, couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. Heath's one of these guys, too. Met him at Lowe's, I want to say 2013. Met him about 13 years ago. And when you had your son in April of 2020, I will tell you, your first boy, he's got two now. The visible maturity shift that I've seen in this man, when they tell you when you have children how there's just a shift for some people. There was a shift in this man. And I always knew this man had a good heart, but I'm going to be honest, Heath, you had a lot of immaturity inside of you, as did I when I was younger. There was a lot of immaturity inside of you, but I literally a complete 180 flip. And, we're still learning. We're still growing regularly. But, and Heath's another one. We can talk about God. We can talk about our faith. And it's honestly really, really, it's such an amazing thing to get to a point where I was able to see that change in them. And to have people around me where I can see these things, it's so aligned with where I'm trying to go to. Man, there's just nothing better. Like, Heath, you really elevated in terms of your emotional maturity. You've elevated in terms of your organization. You've elevated in terms of like stepping into a father role, a husband role. Man, I can't say much more that I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, as are my other brothers too, because Bryce the same way. I met this man and he was not married yet, did not have kids when I met him 11 years ago. And I'm just proud of the man he's become. I genuinely am. James, I met you when you were already relatively established. Man, it's been a blessing to know you. It's been a blessing to learn from you. It's been a blessing to grow alongside you. And Josh, you're a relatively new friend of mine. We met last year in a Winter Connect group in 2025. But man, it's to see how you're such a great father to your girls, seeing you at church, you and your wife, how you serve the church and everything that we go to. Man, it's amazing. But it just goes to show, it's like, this is why I like to talk to people who are in the roles, because while I'm elevating my life, right, I have goals that I'm hitting in my career and starting my business and growing it. The family aspect of it, there's a different type of responsibility that comes with that. It's not so easy to manage. It's not so easy to have that balance. So, Heath, I appreciate it. I'm glad that I saw that before this episode ended. I really am. Heath, I appreciate you, brother. But I wanted to give you guys practical application before we end it out here. So I want to give you guys a 3-part mid-year audit, because we're mid-year now. We're about to be mid-year. To write down in your journals tonight. If you guys have journals, or maybe you just guys have pen and pad, whatever it is, or you want to put something in your notes app in your phone, whatever it is. So I want to give you guys the professional audit side of it. Are you treating your current career, or maybe you're trying to get licensed in something, whatever it is, your current career or your business, like an employee waiting for a paycheck, or are you an owner building an asset? Are you taking full ownership? Are you waking up each day and finding the purpose and the satisfaction of what you do, and you have an ultimate passion and purpose behind what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build? If you're building a business, I would hope so. But a lot of people work in careers where they don't feel fully satisfied. They don't feel fully valuable. And in those types of careers, I would really challenge you to try to pivot and see what's out there. I'm not telling you, if you're making good money, to take that off your table for your family and everything like that. But what I will tell you is, it's really sad to like stay in a position for the rest of your life where you're truly not passionate or happy about what you do. And that is a serious conversation sometime with your spouse, with your kids, because it might take a completely different timeline, like hours, or the time that it might take to study for a certification. But don't be too afraid to pivot. I thought you had some great advice from great guys up here tonight. Like I said, 4 who gave me awesome stuff here that I was able to add in. So Heath, James, Bryce, Josh, love you guys. Thank you guys for adding tonight. For those people, anybody that came in and missed, you guys can look back. But there's no such thing as that perfect balance. There's just not. It takes good communication with your family, your friends, your partner, your kids. When you're in a season of building something big, whether it's a growth or certification in your career, you're scaling your business, it just might require a little bit more time towards that. But you also need intentionality towards the people that you love in your life, your friends, your family, your partner, your children, all that type of stuff. It requires good communication. And like Bryce said, good structure. Have your calendars organized. Have all these things set up. You're going to have to stay organized. If you're trying to organize all up here, unless you have a photographic memory, it's going to be extremely tough. I can tell you as someone who's tried to do that. I used to organize with like writing things down, putting things in my calendar. Then there came a period where I wasn't doing that. I was trying to keep it all up here, and I was not organized. So I went back to that, the calendar, back to writing things down. That's how, that's going to be your best friend in these types of scenarios. So there's the professional audit. Are you cheating your career or your business as an employee waiting for a paycheck, or an owner building an asset? Are you taking ownership? Now, let me challenge you this with the mid-year audit too here. Capital audit. Look at your bank statements from the past 90 days. Is your money funding your comfort, or is it funding your future property, your vision, your legacy? It's a tough economy right now, and I understand that. You might not be making enough money to barely stay afloat, but really audit your finances and see where you're adding to. Like, a lot of times, there's nothing wrong with having some pleasure in your life, like just spending things, but some people really allow their vices to control them. Those are the people that I'm really talking about. A lot of times we overspend on pleasure, but then we're frustrated of why we're not hitting our vision or our legacy. We're not hitting our certain goals. And sometimes it requires certain funding and financial savings. And I can relate because I've been there before too. You have to really take a deep dive and look. Don't be afraid to open up your financial statements, your bank statements. If you have a credit card, your credit reports, look at these things. You have to be accountable and honest with yourself. Sometimes people are just genuinely struggling. Maybe they're trying to make more money. Maybe they're trying to reduce their expenses and they're barely staying afloat. And I do empathize with people that are in there. It's a tough season, right? But we have to have the mindset that it's not going to be forever. We have a very temporary season here. We're going to trusting God. I always say too, like, put God at the center, like fully pray to him and ask him for direction. And then you have to yield. You have to actually take his advice. You have to try not to lean on yourself so much. And it's hard. I mean, like I said, it's a muscle. It takes time. It takes consistency. And I want to give you guys the capacity audit because that's what we talked about, right? The business capacity mindset. What do I mean by this? So where are you pulling back or emotionally deactivating because the pressure got too heavy? How can you bring a brother? Like, so I'll say for men, how can you bring a brother into that space instead of isolating? And if you're a woman, how can you bring a fellow sister into that space instead of isolating? How can you reach out? How can you maybe set up an accountability partner every week? Maybe somebody to talk to that's also on the path that you're on. And I think you want to be aligned with people who are on the same path. I think that's the thing. Sometimes we have to reevaluate our friend circles and the people that we surround ourselves with. Sometimes we have the fun friend. There's nothing wrong with that. There could be people that you're not fully aligned with, but they were like your day ones, right? They're loyal friends and are going to have your back through everything. And I'm not saying to cut those people out of your life, but I think it's good to have friends that are also aligned with maybe your faith, your professional goals, whatever you're trying to build, your familial goals, different types of things. People who are, if you're a father, other people that are father. If you're a mother, other women that are mothers. If you're a husband or a wife, other people that are husbands and wives. You know what I mean? Just to be able to relate to people, be able to have those conversations. So capacity audit, a capital audit, and a professional audit. We want to do that. We're getting towards mid-year, guys. Like I said, a lot of us probably had goals of where we wanted to be, or maybe we stuck with some of the goals that we started in January, and maybe some of us did not stick with them. Maybe we fell back into old habits. Give yourself grace. Just understand what you need to work on and what you need to be more consistent with. So I'm going to tease for next week, guys, and tell you guys. So that I that's kind of what I have for tonight. I walked through all the information that the guys gave me. Like I said, I like to talk to people who are experienced in that side of it because I'm elevating and growing in my career and working on building a business, but I'm also not married right now. I don't have biological children of my own. So I want to bring people in that are in that both side of it, right? So I can get like an actual experience because I have my vision of what I see if I was in that role, but I also want to bring people in who actually have the experience to talk about that. So I can give that to you guys. So if you stumbled across this podcast, whether you're here from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or you're somebody who watches every week, I hope that information was really helpful. So before I sign off here tonight, I want to break down the calendar for you guys because we do have the next 4 weeks set up. Potentially the next 5 I'm working on as well. So let's see. All right. And as of now, these are all on Thursday. I don't have any more Saturday episodes for a little bit. At least nothing's planned that way. So next week, we're kind of rounding out Men's Mental Health Awareness Month in June. So I like to typically annually cover one episode related to that in June. So next week, we're talking about, this is what we have as the podcast opening, The Silent Fortress, Breaking the Stigma of the Isolated Man, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to provide habits for men, and we're going to provide resources as well to help you combat mental health challenges. So you're not alone in this, guys. The week after that, July 2nd, we come into July here. Training for longevity, shifting your fitness goals from vanity to vitality, improving your health for yourself and your fam. And I know we talked about this kind of with Frank, but we're going to talk. Ironically, we talked with Frank Veneziali. I have another Frank that is coming on this podcast, and he's a new guest to this episode. But Frank has really been on his grind with his fitness, and it's about building endurance. And the endurance goes back to his family. So this is going to be an interesting episode. Whoa, I went out there for a second. Sorry about that, guys. So Frank Leto was going to be coming on for that. Frank Leto. This is going to be a great episode. So then after that, we come to July 9th, and I actually have a cousin of mine who actually is based out of Philadelphia here. She's actually going to be in the area. Maybe we'll have a live podcast together, which would be super cool. First ever live in-person podcast we might have. But if not, we're still going to do it virtually. She lives in California, but she'll be back in Philly. So it's going to be from the topic is called From Temple University to the Top Tier Producing Emmy-Winning Vision Under High Pressure, Career Growth and Success in the Film Industry, featuring 2-time Emmy-winning guest Sarah Krupnick, who's my cousin. Love you, cuz. Can't wait for her to come on for that one. And then on July 16th, as we round this out here, I have Complex Family Dynamics, The Blended and Built Legacy, Navigating the Nuances of Step Parenting and Mentorship. That's going to be a great episode too. I'm going to be co-hosting that with Rich, and then we'll have a male-female guest panel for that one. But I'm really excited about the one before too with Sarah. It's going to be great. Guys, that is what I have. Let me check Facebook, make sure there ain't no comments that are in yet too. We got some good likes. Nick, my brother. What's up, Myers? Appreciate the like, brother. Appreciate the like, my brother. Randy, my brother. Thank you. My brothers. Killing it, guys. I don't want to comment tonight, but that's all right. Guys, even if you're not commenting right now live, comment even if you're watching this on the the post stream, because all your comments definitely help. Helps get this content out. So I want to thank, like I said, Bryce, James, Josh, and then as well as Heath as well. Thank you for your stuff. True growth is not accidental, guys. It is by design, not default. I want you guys to remember that. True growth is not accidental. It's by design, not default. All right, guys. So just want to reiterate, make sure you subscribe, share for this episode with another man or woman who needs to hear it. Episode 257 next week is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Like I said, we're going to go deep into out of the cave, unpacking the psychology of male burnout, breaking down this isolation loop, and leveraging clinical frameworks to build an unshakable mind for you guys. Like I said, we'll have some good resources and good habits to build. My brother Rich is going to be helping me co-host this one and dissecting that clinical side as somebody who's an MFA, marriage family therapist. So we'll talk about that, and stay disciplined, stay focused, stay locked in, guys. Have a good night. Peace. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend.